Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Talkable San Leandro, a series of community conversations with people in our city who are making a difference. This is our city politics series, and we are fortunate today to have City Councilwoman Deborah Cox with us from District 1. Councilwoman, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to defer to our first name basis because I probably will go there anyway. So Deborah, good. I'm glad you were able to join us here.
Yes.
And I've started with the other candidates, asking them a little bit about their personal life, telling us about kind of, where they grew up, what their family life was like. I think I like to hear about that, and I'm thinking other people do too. So please.
Yeah, well, I actually grew up on a farm in Iowa.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a fabulous way to grow up.
It was a family farm then?
My father was a full-time farmer, dairy and everything, until I was 8 years old, and then we moved to a smaller farm, and he became what I call a weekend farmer, because he became an insurance man.
Right.
But continued, with all the farm.
I guess once it's in your blood, you don't get it out.
He was born and raised.
Yeah, that's good.
And so was my mother. So
and brothers and sisters?
Brothers, yeah, I have 2 sisters and a brother.
Okay. And where are you in?
I am the second. There's 3 girls, and then the youngest was a boy.
And did anyone stay on the farm? Are there any farmers in the family today?
Nope.
Everyone. It's hard. Farming is a big business now.
All 4 of us don't even live in the state of Iowa anymore.
Okay. There. Okay. So you've all gone your separate directions.
Right.
Any others come out to California? Just curious.
Actually, yes. My sister, the one that's older than me, her husband had gotten a residency at Kaiser in Hayward, which led us, my husband and I, to come out and visit, which ended up, the way that we ended up moving out here.
Well, there you answered my next question. I wanted to hear how you came out here.
Yeah.
And so you and Kevin, your husband, met each other at home
We met in Iowa at Iowa State University in Ames. He was from Des Moines. He was a city boy. I was, I was the country girl. After he graduated from there, he went to get his master's at the University of, we first moved to Chicago, lived there for a couple of years. Then he got his master's at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. And it was after that.
Master's in what? I'm just curious.
Architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah, he's an architect.
Well, good. Thank you very much for that little bit of information. I know you and I met each other when you were starting SLED, and you and a number of other women at the time, and continues to be lots of mothers and women involved.
Right.
And so that was how you and I met. So there are a number of questions I've asked other candidates, and I'm going to ask you. It's rent control seems to be on lots of people's minds for a very good reason. It's terribly expensive to rent a place. What are your feelings about rent control?
Well, I have to say that I don't think rent control is the solution.
Okay.
The biggest solution is to build more housing.
Right.
Because I just read an article in the paper today that it's supply and demand. There just simply is not enough housing in California in general, Bay Area particularly. So I would encourage more housing, which we're working on as a council.
Right. Yep.
And I do want to see, though, controls there in our trailer parks.
Right.
They're a special breed. They have a whole different makeup and rules and regulations, and we're working on a rent control for them.
Okay, good. And so with regard to like Airbnb, there's a moratorium now. How did you feel about that? How did you vote on that? What do you think?
Well, it was unanimous for us to vote to put a moratorium on non-hosted Airbnbs. There was obviously a problem, and unfortunately, this instance of I would say maybe one bad actor in particular brought this to the forefront. So I have no problems. It's obviously something that lots of different municipalities and areas are looking at as far as needing to find some boundaries and regulations. So
you think that non-hosted is within? I hosted and non-hosted. With regard to the integrity of our neighborhoods, is non-hosted something that?
Ironically, the company called VRBO, which is Vacation Rental by Owners, has been around for years and years, and there's never been any problems.
Interesting. Right.
All this has come about with this new Airbnb, which seems to have just changed, change the
Well, the
environment.
market has grown so
Right.
tremendously,
Right.
right? Now everyone sees
Right.
it as an opportunity. So
I personally have rented a home in a beautiful area in Montecito
Right.
for my son's graduation celebration, and
Yeah.
it was in a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah.
But I totally sympathize and understand with folks wanting to maintain,
there is that idea of being able to participate in kind of a community in the community, because
Yeah.
we've done the same thing. We've rented Airbnb in other places, and it's lovely to be in a community of real participants,
Right,
community
right.
members.
Yeah, to feel like
okay.
a part of it.
So I've asked other candidates as well about our debt liability in the city. I know that it is a systemic problem in
Right.
California. Every city, almost every city, has tremendous debt. We're no exception. What are we doing to mitigate that problem, to live within kind of this debt prison that every city seems to be dealing with?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not something that this council just started thinking about.
Okay.
We actually came up with a program we called PULL, which is prioritizing unfunded liabilities, several years ago, almost 4 years ago, where we committed to putting $5 million aside into a trust to let it grow and have some extra
Right.
additional funding. And we've actually been able to come up with almost $16 million to go into that trust. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to solve the entire problem. You're right. We're working with our labor groups to ask them, when we are bargaining, to ask them to look at not only paying their share in, but also in the case of the police and also with the city manager, they're paying into the employer's portion too. And that's where it's good to have a good relationship with these organizations, which I feel is valuable. The Police Officers Association are supporting me, but that means I can sit down and have a hard conversation with them, and we can work it out, I feel.
Yeah, I just remarked that there is some harmony that I see in city council. I mean, although there are people with their own opinions, but when you look at the national kind of level of politics, and which is so difficult, it's nice to see some harmonious interaction in our city. I wanted to ask, so we've talked about the debt. I also wanted to point out, or if you could point out, I know that CalPERS has changed their payback, their actuary tables about paying back, and I know that our debt jumped up fairly significantly. We were at 100 million some years ago, now we're at 205, and so I understand that has significantly impacted I know that lots of people think that it's a situation of mismanagement, but in fact, CalPERS, they play by their own rules.
Right.
We play by their rules. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I know that, let's see, there was, I wanted to talk about the marina a little bit. We have not broken ground there, and I know there are mitigating circumstances, sea level rise, but what do you think with regard to the mix of buildings in the marina? Is it, is there anything else to consider there, or should we just, how do we push forward?
Right. Well, this is a huge project that's, and this is city-owned property, so we have the ability to be in control of dealing with the developer and working things out. And my biggest concerns is making sure that we get the things the city needs out of this project, and that's help with infrastructure. We're going to have a new park area, and we weren't planning on building a park as a city. Those kinds of things. So we're working that out with the developer.
And it's the same developer?
It is the same developer.
Okay.
He's been around for a really long time. I don't think that he's going to go anywhere soon, but we did have to pull it back. The project kind of had to get totally redesigned, which obviously slowed things down.
And that redesign was because of
the Bay Conservative District came in and asked us to plan for sea level rise for 2100 instead of 2050. So we had to literally totally different design, and obviously that takes time. And I feel like actually we got a we got a much better project out of it because of it.
Good.
Like I said, now we have open space, and it's
Right.
frontage along the water is all going to be park.
Right.
They're going to be 100 feet back.
Good.
So I think we ended up with a better project in the long run.
Good to hear. And so finally, I wanted just to talk about retail in the downtown. You know, it is things are in the downtown. It looks better than it has been
Right.
over the years, and we've got a couple new restaurants, and so it looks like we're making progress. But it's a rough road. Retail first there were the big box stores, and then now there's Amazon. And so, what do you are there answers or ideas of getting more interesting retailers in
Right.
the downtown?
Well, I think you go right back to housing. We're planning to have right in the immediate Washington Square area, there's Kitty Corner in the old CVS plot. There's going to be almost 200 units of market rate housing going in there.
Right.
We've already got almost 200 units there at Maria Alta.
Right.
And then there's other projects planned just behind FH Daily of almost 600 new units.
Right.
I've literally gone and talked with the Regency Center who owns and manages a complex, and I keep them apprised of all this new development. And I also meet with Safeway and have talked to them about the fact that we're going to, all this housing and new people are going to be near, and we are asking them to up their game.
Step it up.
Right.
Because a lot of disposable income will be within reach of that.
Absolutely. It's exactly what happened with Oakland was, Jerry Brown, when he was mayor, said, I'm going to bring 10,000 new housing units into Oakland. And look what happened.
Right. I remember he moved into the old Sears building there when it was that neighborhood was just terrible.
Yeah. And so we're bringing more housing, and I think that brings the services.
Super. Well, this has been very enlightening. Thank you for joining me. And then if you like, you can essentially address the citizenry of San Leandro here and let them know that what you think about your coming term.
Great. Well, all I can say is it's been an honor to serve the last 4 years. I really feel like council has been an extension of the almost 20 years of volunteer work that I did prior to coming onto the council. I spent 8 years on the Human Services Commission. I'm the only council member that has served all 8 years. So I came onto the council really understanding the needs of the people in this town who are the most needy. I also, I'm proud of the things I've done. I'm co-founding the San Leandro Education Foundation and running 3 campaigns for the school district. So this has really been an extension of all the volunteer work I did prior to that. I really think it'll be good to have experience, because we do have some tough issues we're going to have to address. So having experience going into the next 4 years, I think will be very valuable. So all I can say is I hope you consider voting for me in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Thank you, Wayne.
Good luck.
Okay.